What's up, guys? Welcome to the Talking Pigskin Week 3 edition. As always, I'm your host, Kishwar here. Great news. I went 13 and 3 last week with these picks. So far, I'm off to a pretty good start. Gotta love it. Only games I got wrong last week was the Bengals, the Chargers, and unfortunately the Giants as well. None of these teams I expected to drop to 0 and 2, but it happened. So I'm sure they'll turn it around this week, but we'll get to that when I go through the schedule. But other than that, my lock was the Cardinals. Yeah, it was scary because it took the Colts to overtime. However, they pulled it off anyway. And my upset was the Redskins, and they took care of the Rams out west. So yeah, I feel pretty good about those picks, and now let's see if I can continue my winning streak into Week 3. With that being said, we have the first game where Thursday Night Football, the Rams will take on the 49ers. The 49ers are currently 0-2. The Rams are 1-1. This game will be extremely boring. Yeah, I'm sorry to warn you, unless you're a Rams and 49ers fans, feel free to be offended. But other than that, for the national audience, this game will be snooze. I don't see much going on in this game. I think the Rams will dominate that 49ers offense. That defense is not too bad. Wade Phillips is coaching that team defense up. And as far as the offensive game goes, Jared Goff hasn't looked so bad. That goes to show you what an offensive coach can do now that they have Sean McVay coaching him. Not too much discussion in this game. I think the Rams will win this game easily. Let's move on to the Sunday's game, and the very first game we have is a 9:30 start in London. We have the Baltimore Ravens taking on the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, Jaguars usually tend to win games in London. Not sure why that's the case, but I believe this year that won't happen just because the Ravens are off to a flying start. That defense definitely playing lights out right now. Was not expecting that. Terrell Suggs in his later stage in his career, he seems to be rallying that defense pretty well thus far. And Eric Weddle is balling the secondary. As far as offense, they're just doing very minimal to get by each game. I'm sure as the season progresses, they will have to click as well. Jacksonville got exposed last week as I expected them to. They just don't have the offense. Now with Allen Robinson, I don't think how much they can do. So I'll take the Ravens on the road in London to take care of the Jaguars. Now we can move on to the 1 o'clock games. And the very first game we have is the Miami Dolphins taking on my New York Jets. Now, the Jets were very competitive in the first half of the game last week against Oakland. They were in it 14-10, and then boom, the muff punt happens, and the game goes downhill from there. So that's going to be the season in a nutshell. They'll stay in games for a while and then just implode afterwards. This is their home opener. Miami is coming off a very solid win against the LA Chargers. Jay Cutler looked all right. So we'll see if the Jets can keep up with them as far as the game goes. I think Ndamukong Suh, Cameron Wake will be too much for the offensive line to handle on the Jets side. I don't think the Jets defense will pick up and their slack from last week because you can only go up from how abysmal they looked in the secondary last week. So hopefully they'll pick that up. I don't expect them a big turnaround, but I think Dolphins will be able to easily handle them, and I'm picking the Dolphins to win this game. Moving on to the Denver Broncos traveling to Buffalo to take on the Bills. Bills only put up a field goal last week against the Panthers. The Broncos defense is coming to town. No-fly zone is really no joke. They are unreal. I thought Denver would take a step back this year. I thought Denver would be the basement of the AFC West. However, Trevor Siemian is making me eat my words. He's been balling so far. Hopefully he will keep it up. I'm not sure how that's going to continue, but as of right now, the Broncos look very good, and I think they can actually challenge the Pats for the AFC crown. So I'll take the Broncos on the road to take down the Bills. Next game we have is the New Orleans Saints at Carolina Panthers. 0-2. Drew Brees needs to get his troops together and come out firing. And I'm actually going to pick them to win this game as an upset special because Carolina is favored by 5.5 points. Panthers offense didn't do much last week against the Bills. However, the perfect cure has come to town, the Saints defense. I just don't think they can keep up with the scoring with Drew Brees and company. McCaffrey looked all right last week. Benjamin needs to get going. So is Newton. He's missing throws that he never used to miss. So maybe he's still feeling the effects from last year. Who knows? Hopefully they'll turn it around. But as far as the game goes, I think Drew Brees is in a must-win situation, and I think he'll come through. And hopefully they'll get AP involved in the offense because right now he's just sitting there collecting a paycheck. Moving on to the Pittsburgh Steelers at Chicago Bears. I'm going to pick the Pittsburgh Steelers as my lock of the week to take down the Bears. I also am predicting this could be Mike Glenn's last shot as a starter, as Mitch Trubisky is waiting for that job. The Pittsburgh Steelers offense still hasn't fully clicked yet, but the minute it does, it will be a scary offense to stop. Le'Veon Bell, it clearly shows that the missing training camp, he's pretty rusty still, but I'm sure he'll turn that around. As far as the Pittsburgh defense, they haven't done much to be noticeable, so that's a good thing in their case. So let's just leave it at that. And as for the Bears, yeah, there's not much going on in Chicago. Just put in Trubisky, and the defense is just abysmal. Tampa Bay ran all over them last week, so let's go with the Steelers. Moving on to the Atlanta Falcons and Detroit Lions. I think this is going to be a great game. It could potentially be a shootout. However, the Falcons did fix their defense from what it looks like. The two games I watched, they kept Bears in the teens, and they kept Aaron Rodgers in check for most of the game last Sunday night. However, going to Detroit, where Matthew Stafford is looking like a Class A quarterback right now. I've always been a fan of him. I'm just so glad he got paid, and now he's showing it to everyone that he didn't need Calvin Johnson to be this good. He just is this talented. With that receiving core that he has, they're not the best, but they're very good, and it works for them. Amir Abdullah and Theo Riddick from the backfield has been great. As for the Falcon offense, we all know, we saw it in the Super Bowl last year and last season. They're just amazing. So this is going to be a shootout. If the Falcons defense can somehow put a stop on the Detroit offense, and maybe that can happen, and I'm going to bank on that, so I'm going to pick the Falcons to take down the Lions. However, that can be a game of the week, so be sure to tune into that game. Next game we have is the Cleveland Browns and Indianapolis Colts. Now, just like the Thursday night game, I think this game will be another snooze. Without Andrew Luck, there's not much to say about the Colts, although they did compete well with Jacoby Brissett last week against the Cardinals. As for the Browns, I think DeShone Kizer just needs to get it together. Traveling to the Colts won't be easy, but I do believe the Browns have enough on their defense to tame the Colts offense and just score enough points to win that game. So Cleveland Browns, congratulations. This will be the first win of the season for you guys. So enjoy it. Moving on to Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Minnesota Vikings. As of right now, it does look like Sam Bradford will start. Last week, it was a last-minute decision on Sunday that he wasn't going to start, which was a bummer. Had he started the game, maybe we would have had a different result for Vikings and Steelers. But nonetheless, I think he will start on Sunday, and I think Buccaneers coming to town. That defense was lights out last week. But that offense didn't fully click. Yes, Evans got his touchdowns, but Jameis Winston still hasn't played. He only played last week because, remember, they weren't active week one. But I don't see Vikings defense let Jameis Winston run all over the field on Sunday, and I think Vikings will tame him. And Sam Bradford returns to the lineup. The Vikings offense is a different animal. So I'm going to take the Vikings at home to take down the Buccaneers. Moving on to the Houston Texans at New England Patriots. Now, the Pats are 13.5-point favorite in this game, and I think they will deliver. Because Deshaun Watson, a rookie traveling to Foxborough, is just tough task for him. As far as the defense goes, yeah, J.J. Watt and Jadeveon Clowney will be doing their best to keep Tom Brady in check, but it is Tom Brady. He does need to get Brandon Cooks going because he is in my fantasy team, and I need Cooks to score some points for me. But despite all that, I don't know if Amendola is going to be active. Gronk got a little banged up last week, so why am I even going this? The Patriots are going to win this game. Why even bother? Number 12 is still the quarterback, so the Pats. Next game we have is the New York Giants traveling to Philadelphia. It's the Eagles' home opener. They will be jacked up after being on the road for 2 weeks, and the Philadelphia crowd is going to be there. Their team is actually good this year, and I think they will come out firing. They have been handling the Giants for years now, and I think it will continue this Sunday. The Giants' offensive line is non-existent. I'm not sure if Jerry Reese will survive the season because he didn't do a good job this offseason to shore up that offensive line for Eli. Eli gets sacked almost every other play, and that needs to end. Eric Flowers is a complete turnstile on the left tackle. They need to remove him ASAP. As far as the Eagles, defense goes, I think they will easily break that line, and I think their defense is playing really well. Carson Wentz is doing his thing. I love that. The receiving core is coming together with Jeffrey and Torrey Smith, and also not to mention Zach Ertz and Nelson Aguilar. The Giants receiving core is actually better on paper for the when it comes to head-to-head, but they're not doing much. So maybe they'll show up on Sunday. However, I'm still going to take the Eagles to win that game. Moving on to, let's see, who's next. We have the 4 o'clock games now. And we have the Seahawks traveling to Tennessee. I'm going to give the edge to Tennessee just because Seahawks, same issue as the Giants. They have no offensive line, and it clearly shows. Against the 49ers, they were only able to score 12 points. That's embarrassing. That shouldn't be the case. Tennessee at home, I think they'll be ready to go after a big resounding victory against the Jaguars. I think Marcus Mariota is going to do very well against that Seahawks defense. However, I think it's going to be a low-scoring game. I just don't see Seahawks do much on offense. So Titans will take that game. Moving on to Kansas City Chiefs at LA Chargers. The Chargers have the worst luck in all of football. They cannot win a close game. Their kicker, Young Hoku, now cost them 2 games in a row. He is starting to look like Roberto Aguayo. I don't wish that on him, but he needs to turn that around. As far as Kansas City, the power rankings are out. They are the best team in the league right now. Their offense looks unstoppable. Alex Smith looks like the best quarterback play I've seen him doing in a while. So I think the Chiefs will continue their winning streak, and they'll drop the Chargers to 0-3. Moving on to Cincinnati Bengals traveling to Green Bay. I think Green Bay is ticked off from that horrific loss against Atlanta Falcons last Sunday night. Bengals can't get anything on offense. It's sad to see that Andy Dalton still hasn't scored a touchdown with all those weapons he has around him. I think Packers will just pile it on. I don't think this game will be close. Packers will run away with the victory. Moving on to the Sunday night game, we have the Raiders traveling to East Coast to take on the Redskins. I think this will be a very good game. As far as I've seen so far, everyone is giving the edge to Raiders. However, I think Redskins at home are actually a very tough team to beat. Sure, they were handled by Eagles week 1, but I think Kirk Cousins showed up last week against the Rams defense and showed us why he's a franchise quarterback. And I think with the Rob Kelly injury, Chris Thompson will get the starting gig, and I think them two so far has a great connection, and I think they'll build on it. And I picked the Redskins to take down the Raiders. Moving on to Monday Night Football, we have the Dallas Cowboys traveling to Arizona to take on the Cardinals. Cardinals look very, very pathetic on offense. This should not be the case. Unless Carson Palmer's age is catching up to him, this should be fixed immediately. Bruce Arians is a quarterback whisperer, so I'm not sure what's going on with that offense. Yes, the loss of David Johnson hurts a lot, but still, you can't be this bad, especially against the outing against Colts. As for Dallas, they got embarrassed against Denver last week. I did pick the Broncos to win. I just didn't expect it to blow them out. I think they will turn it around. I think Zeke will be more involved in this week's game. As far as Dak, he did have a good game by himself last week. It's just that no one else showed up to play for him. But I do expect the Cowboys to win on Monday night. So there you have it. Lock of the week is Pittsburgh. Upset of the week is Saints. Let me know what you guys think about Week 3 picks. Hopefully I'll have another great week again. As always, like, subscribe, comment, share, do whatever you can to get these videos out there. I appreciate the support. And, of course, send any questions my way. And I will see you guys next week for Week 4 picks. Take care. Have a good night.